We move on then to motion 77, Wilton Branch, Cork South Central, to move.
Michael Ahern, Cork South Central, Wilton Branch. Chairman, fellow delegates, I joined the Labour Party when Frank Clusky was a party leader. In my opinion, Frank Clusky was responsible for probably the single most important change, social change, that any minister made when he introduced what was then called the Unmarried Mothers Allowance. It changed Irish society. It gave young mothers the means by which to hold on to their babies, very often against the wishes of their parents. And as a result, it closed the Magdalen laundries, it closed the industrial schools, it more or less shut down the adoption agencies, and over time it took away the stigmas of having a child outside of marriage and of being born outside of marriage. It changed the narrow, pernicious mindset of our society and ensured that now very few children are separated from their parents shortly after birth. The budget last December seriously rode back on his historic enactment when it killed off any payment for a lone parent when the youngest child reaches just 7 years of age. What is a mother now forced to work to survive financially? What does she do when the 7-year-old is on holidays from school? And how does she manage when he or she arrives home each day at 3:30 and she is out at work? When fully implemented, it will take more than €100 million from lone parents. This is just one of the unfair changes enforced on us because of our reluctance to change our income tax rates and our income tax bands. In the last budget, we took away 6 weeks, or 20%, of fuel allowances from those who depended on them to keep warm during our cold winters. In the same budget, we cut child benefit, we cut job seekers allowance, we cut school clothing and footwear allowances, and we cut disability allowance and state pensions for new claimants. All because we don't want to touch the fairest tax of all, income tax. It seems we want to send out the message that this is a low income tax economy. Ryanair is a low fares airline, but we all know that the fares are the small part. By the same token, we may be seen as a low income tax economy, but the income tax will be the small part. If we sidestep increases in income tax in our efforts to bridge the enormous gaps that still exist between our income and expenditure,
could you conclude, please?
We will be compelled to dismantle many schemes, many systems, many supports and supplements. These were put carefully in place to help to make this country a fairer place to live in. I will conclude. The gap between income and expenditure has to be bridged, and yes, it is a horrendous task, and gives to this government perhaps the hardest fiscal challenge of any government in Western Europe since the aftermath of the Second World War. It is enormous, all the more reason that it has to be accomplished fairly. Income tax, progressively applied, is the only fair way, and I appeal to the backbenchers, the TDs of this party. You have the power to keep this on track. Exercise it so that we will be able to go to the people when this government is finished and say, yes, it was hard, but we were very fair. Gurmila Mahagav.